President Trump announcing tariffs on autos on Wednesday evening. A 25% tariff on global auto imports to the U.S. will impose duties on cars and trucks from other nations. The U.S. will begin collecting the auto tariffs on April 3rd, a day after Trump is set to announce broader trade actions. Now, he did state that the reciprocal tariffs, which were meant to equalize U.S. tariffs with foreign nations, will likely be lower than previously planned. Trump saying that these tariffs will target all countries, not just the 15% of nations previously mentioned. Well, joining me live from Miami is Gabby Barosby, founder of Latino Wall Street. Good morning, Gabby. Thank you so much for joining me. So Trump announced a 25% tariff on all vehicles imported into the U.S., saying it would spur growth like you haven't seen before. He also added that cars built in the U.S. would be exempt from the tariff. So what is your first take on these kind of tariffs?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Remy. So the thing is that in the beginning, right, we thought tariffs were a method of negotiation. They were actually working pretty well in getting what we needed from different countries, like, for example, with Mexico, help with the border and all that stuff. But now it looks like things changed, right? Now it looks like it's a long-term strategy specifically for the auto industry because he has said he wants this to be a long term, literally for his whole term, for these tariffs to stay, to be permanent, at least for the 4 years that he has as president. So the market is going to react with uncertainty because it's not about just putting the foreign competitors at a disadvantage. It's about that there's no such a thing actually as an all-American car, right? To be able to make an American car, you need parts, right? That are a lot of times made abroad. So the reason why we don't see the American car companies reacting in such a positive way today with the news, because you would think they're going to hurt their competitors. If anything, they should be celebrating, is because they actually need parts from different countries. And it's not just tariffs 20% on the autos, it's also on car parts that a lot of American cars need. So that's the key piece we need to understand, that it's not just about other countries are going to pay the price. The main question here is, are the American car companies going to pay the price as well because they need parts from abroad?
Yeah, and Gabby, you bring up a very important point because the economy is interconnected, and as you mentioned, parts do come into play here when we're talking about auto tariffs. Now, Trump did say that tariffs coming in April will probably be more lenient than reciprocal, and the White House went on to clarify the president's remarks, saying that the administration will no longer take into account non-tariff barriers such as value-added tax that countries raise against the U.S. to determine the reciprocal tariff rate. But how should and how can American businesses plan ahead amid all of this uncertainty?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of uncertainty. I mean, at this point, from the consumer standpoint, you are not going to want to buy a car that's not made in the US, right? The approximate, it's that they will go up from 3,000 to 12,000. So that's a lot of money for the average person to be paying on top of what the car costs. For the businesses, right, what they need to do is they need to plan ahead, which parts do they need to make the cars the best quality possible? Because one main complaint from the consumers in the US is that the reason why they buy cars from Europe or from Japan, like the other brands, and not cars made in the US, is because they're better quality, right? That's the main reason why we have such strong competition, is because they tend to just have a better quality. So, what they need to focus on is, what are all those parts that are needed to make the cars efficient as possible, and how can they prepare now, right? I know it's like a short notice because it's supposed to be April 3rd that this will go live, um, to be able to make sure they have what they need to not be affected, and to also not hurt the customer, because at the end of the day, businesses, if their expenses go up, right, that will hurt their margins, and they will pass that off to the consumer. So, then it becomes like a lose-lose type of scenario, right? If they're not benefiting the same, then the customers are not benefiting, the prices are higher. Now, the cars that are imported are also not benefiting because they're getting tariffs. So we obviously don't want that. We want to stimulate the economy and keep it going. So they need to prepare with all those pieces and parts that they need to ensure the cars function properly, to then make a plan and make sure they do not decrease the quality, right? We cannot do that because then people will just stop buying.
Well, Gabby, we will have to leave it there for today, but I look forward to speaking to you once the month of April kicks off, and we'll see where we are in terms of tariffs plan. As always, Gabby, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights.
Thank you.